Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the beautiful game of chess. Today we're going to be going over some pawn structures that you should know. We've talked a whole lot about different variations in the past. Some of you are pretty new, and if you are pretty new, this will be good education. We're going to start learning from the back to the front, basically in-game, middle game, opening, hopefully in that order. To give people more of a clear understanding of what it is we're trying to do. We're basically clearing the board to nothing but pawns, and we're going to talk about different structures you should know and you should learn how to take advantage of. Sometimes when you see a structure, you know exactly how to attack it. So your traditional structure is e4, e5. This is a symmetrical position. In this position, both sides, if you had all the pieces up, we'll be looking to get their queen and bishop involved early. Well, maybe not the queen so much, but at least have the ability to get her out. But black has many options, and so does white. White can easily look to gain basically an advantage at getting the pieces out quicker by sacrificing this pawn, or even a Marazzi bind. But you don't really use this unless most of the time, unless it's a Sicilian you're playing against. I'll show you that structure. Let's go ahead and bring that back up. C5, see what has happened here. Usually this happens and white will have a knight here on F3, and that knight would capture this pawn, and we'll take that off the board, and then this would happen, basically preventing black from ever pushing D5. We're going to clear the board. We're going to put a starting position up, and I'll show you what I mean. So say white plays e4 and black plays c5, knight f3. You'll get this a lot of times from this variation. And once you get this opening, you can get this to happen, and you see something like this. This is a Marazzi bind. So no matter what happens here from black, it's going to be very hard to push the pawn from d6 to d5, because that is just a very powerful move. Now, granted, it can be it can happen in various different scenarios, including black could take here and white would recapture the queen, but that's neither here nor there. A lot of times this ends up happening, or the knight comes back. Let's go back to starting position and let's try that again. So, boom. This happens quite a bit, and this could happen. You actually get this move, or you could get a bishop out, and if you just happen to get another one here, because this is protected, you're only worried about this piece right here. And usually a Marazzi bind would be a position where you would wait to put the knight out. In this scenario, you would have to use your bishop in order to hold this block for the pawn, or you could just move the pawn to f3. Different variations. This is the traditional setup for this version of Sicilian anti-Sicilian defense, and you would see black usually kick this. This is a Najdorf. You could also see the Paulson or a Tamanoff, where the queen comes to c7. We'll just go with this one first, and at that point this happens, and you can see then they could easily move to from a Paulson to a Tamanoff variation, or if it went e5, you can see the Najdorf, and all this is covered. And what ends up happening, we'll just throw some random moves out there. White's development looks like this. You get ready short castle, and always in this scenario, when you move F3, you want to try to find a way to long castle, controlling more center file, lining down. Then you'll just throw the pawns this direction, limiting black's movement. White tries to take advantage of space. So clear board. Start position. Let's get it all out there again. Back to the pawns. That was one idea. So let's cover a couple other little things. If you saw a pawn structure that looked like this, let's just go. No, this is not your normal because this is F3. E4, this is not our triangle. But if you saw this, you would know white is focused on controlling the light squares with pawns. Therefore, you would want to have already traded off your light square bishop because he's going to be very unhappy not being able to move. And you would want to have your dark squared bishop. So let's just pull this all back. Let's go take a look at what our actual triangle looks like. As we know, this is a dark squared attack. Setup is trying to control the dark squares. You would usually, if you're trying to play at London or even a Trompowsky or something of that nature, you would, or the Tory attack, you'd want the dark square bishop already out here in one of these two squares, depending on which one of those openings I just named you'd be doing. If you didn't have it out yet, then it's just going to be a little upset for a while. You have to kind of like a fianchetto to put it on the B6, the B2 square, and it would be basically the Zuckertord variation of the Kale system, which is very good. But this is what this controls, and that's what the triangle is mainly for the dark squares. So you're going to either want to trade off that dark square. That's why a lot of times you'll see in the London, the bishop will be out here on F4, and it'll roll back when attacked, being it's okay at that point to capture with the outside pawn. This allows you the ability to push pawns if you want to, castle to the queen side of the board, and so forth. We can do it from a starting position to give you a better look. We want this on the outside, and we'll just say a lot of this will be, let's do symmetry for a minute, except say this happens right here. See how it's attacking here, and it could be attacking here too. Either way, like, it's like, why does it matter which one it is? Well, this one, then you're looking for this to happen to create this file. Let's put the pieces back on the board because that's really upsetting just to see them go for no reason. Magnus Carlsen made it a very common thing for just to leave this bishop here, and if he captures, capture here, creating a different Marazzi bind basically on the other side, using the D and F pawn, well, E pawn turned F pawn to control E5, and then starts working this almost like a stonewall, because if you take a look at the stonewall variation, these things are happening. Or if this isn't here and this has been dropped into there, trying to get into here, trying to get into here, depending on where they castle, trying to control the E5 square. This is part of the triangle system as well. It is the stonewall defense, or stonewall attack for white. And I mean, the same thing you do on white, you can do for black. It's just called the defense instead of the attack. So there's a couple ideas. So what we have learned here so far in our opening is, well, in our pawn setup, is what kind of attack the opponents look for. A lot of times you can tell how to attack the opponent just by, after a few moves, where the pawns are, as long as you consider piece activity, the empty square, and undefended pieces, like if there was a bishop just sitting out there, something that's hanging, something you can attack. You can pretty much determine how to attack the structure. And once again, let's just take another look at something to kind of give us an idea of what I mean by that. This is an E4, actually, let's go do it this way. D4 setup. And if you see this, and you see this is more of a Carol Khan, but it's just done in reverse order, because normally it would be C6, then D5, but D5, C6, same thing. You're looking at the same concepts where the bishop comes out, and I'm doing this without the pieces at first, so you can just look at the pawns and take a look at how they're supposed to come together. Fianchetto. This, if you leave this to be taken and you don't recapture, that is a Catalan variation, which then eventually that pawn falls, and a lot of times black will push its B pawn to protect here, and then you just got to know when to make the right pawn break. Pawn chain break would be like like this. Of course, they would come forward. You can easily just chip away at the pawn chain Now this file will be open, but this will be what you'll be working on breaking down. This is how black would try to keep its side together and keep that 1 point advantage. Let's see what else we want to do here. And that's just one idea from that position. Let's get everything back on the board. Talk about the same thing again. And if you get, let's just do it from the Carol Conway. Boom. And do this, and this is as soon as you see Fianchetto, you know they're looking for a Catalan. It's just the way the game's played. If they don't, and they come here, then you're usually looking at a Queen's Gambit, in which your bishop can recapture. Boom. We'll just say they don't capture. And you're sitting here, and they do this. Now we know that they have created a semi-Slav. If the bishop is on the outside, then that there will be a different variation. That'd be the Slav. But then you would capture, and how they recapture tells you about how they're going to play you. If they're going to use this and open the C file, and then basically it's a race to who wants to put the rook on the C file. If they want to capture this way to protect this side from the open C file that you've gained with the pawn structure, see how it kind of flows all the way across. You're basically at this point, black's going to look to find a way to create a 3 on 2. It's a queenside majority, and white's going to try to find a way to have a 4 on 3 kingside majority, as these two would cancel each other out eventually. And that's how they would look to, advance here. Boom, boom. This comes forward. This goes forward. They don't want to capture it. Just boom, bang. All kinds of different things can happen. Let's go ahead and start in position. All right, so let's look at what we know so far. So we got a player wants to play d5, and we want to play our natural triangle maneuver. Boom, you get this a lot. You might get this, or you might get somebody wanting. They can't play here now because you already got your bishop in place. So they come here. If they play the Caro-Kann, using either c6, d5, or d5, c6, whatever, same thing. Same structure. We're focused on the structure, not the name. They have already wasted the tempo to put the bishop out here, so they're going to have to accept a semi-Slav if they go for a triangle. In which you got to watch out for the bishop to come here, queen come here, knight can come here or here. Depending if it comes here, then you watch out for the g5 push. Maybe g4 for black, looking to take advantage of a castle king. So those are just some ideas. And our structure, we are controlling the dark squares while black is controlling the light squares. So we want to keep his, see, he's jailed his own light square bishop behind his pawn structure, and we have done the same with his dark square bishop. Can run free. That's why our triangle is so successful here, because it blocks it off. Let's go back to starting position. There's other ideas that you can see. You can see somebody play, let's see, an old part of the triangle that really didn't, not really the triangle, but the e4 attacking system is the King's Indian attack. Let's just go with this. Bishop, bishop. Trying to get this long diagonal for the bishop. That's a little different for white, because white here does this. It gets both free reign bishops. Boom, because this is part of the basically the e4 attacking system. And it's more of a passive side though. So white looks to get the knight out, castle, press this, then start toward the center of the board. After having moved the rook to e1 to protect the pawn on e4 a while back. A little late on putting that there, I do apologize. But that's kind of the idea, finding the right pawn break, finding out if your opponent's already jailed one of his bishops or not, by knowing whether or not they have a dark square attack, light square attack, what your pawns are actually protecting. And I do apologize for my dog in the backyard barking. If you understand the pawn structure, you will have a better chance of breaking down your opponent and finding his weaknesses quicker. It doesn't really matter if you know every name to every opening. That's not going to make you a great player. What's going to make you a great player is identifying structures, identifying how to break down those structures so you can figure out how you want to play, whether it be on the king side or the queen side of the board, and how to push your advantage when you have one. So this is the first of many videos to come to talk about structure and endgame. First, before you can ever learn what a structure is, you must first know, before you can ever really get to the endgame, you got to understand the structures. Because if you had pawns that are stacked like this, is this always a bad thing? You know, let's just say you're here. We'll just take a quick look. If this is here, I mean, what do you do with this? What do you do with this pawn structure? You know, you could do a lot of things with this pawn structure, to be honest. If it was stuck like this, and you can reach this position by having a knight here, and then having put the Nimzo Indian, you're here, this maneuver right here. And what can happen, you can see where this could just be left like this and just kind of control for a little while. Or you can even see people do this number and using this as kind of like a map to find where you want to put your pieces. Where you can go here, 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 you know, using it to jump in and out of. And it also helps control the E5 square. It gives you a little hidden spot right there, and just a little extra. And if somehow you trade this piece off, you can always throw the extra one back up there. So it isn't always a bad thing when that happens. You can end up taking this way in a situation like that, in which let me give you a quick look real quick. Boom, boom. Let's go with this way. And we're, oops, I don't know where I do that. Alright, so we're going to go here. And we're just going to say they capture. Let's snatch this way. And now they're getting ready to castle. No, you're not. Bishop controls the line. So that being said, easily we know this could happen. I'm just doing this for argument's sake. Trying to help. And it, of course, once we know structures, once we know the knight's here, this pawn cannot come forward because then the knight will gobble up this pawn too. Pay attention to little stuff. We'll just back this up one. And if you want, we can go ahead and protect this piece. Get this out now. Boom, same deal. Same deal. Or if you didn't like doing it with the bishop, you could do it that way. It doesn't matter. Either way, they're protected. He can't castle. So then you would see, you would be forcing this move from your opponent, in which now you know there's going to be a rook right here. So let's go ahead and get a piece out and go ahead and castle. You do it for both sides, that's fine. Because sometimes a nothing move is what you need, like an in-between move. Black really can't do anything on this side other than what, pin a knight to a bishop and queen? Sure. Fantastic. We can do anything. White has the ability to push the advantage to d5 and then get a big exchange here because the queen protects it, the knight protects it. And that will lead to some material swapping, and he almost has to take it, because if he doesn't take, then white takes the next move. This happens, and boom, rook drops, or they capture the knight, and knight captures, and boom, rook drops. It's just, you have to be able to see past the structures. Not all structures are bad, and whenever they get broken down like that. So let's go back to the starting position. We have seen a little bit about pawn structures, and this series is going to be, for lack of a better term, called Power Pawns, whether it be structure or endgame ideas. Let me see if I can make a quick endgame for you real quick. What about, let's do this. Let me see. Try to give you guys an end game real fast. Let's go here. And let's get black pawn. Does black need a pawn there? Black need a pawn here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and give him a pawn here. Let's see, where's the king at? King. Let's see. Okay, let's do this way. No, because that breaks that in there. Well, then anyway, okay. So, white's a move. Actually, we'll put the king back here. And what if white does this? Black is almost okay with it. This happens, and if he captures, recapture, right? Wrong. The winning move is not sometimes patience matters. Right here, almost every one of you would grab the pawn, snatch the rook, and boom. Hey, I can catch up with these, blah blah. Why wait to win when you can win on the spot? There's your move, locking this down. Now black has to move away, and then you can take. And queen. He has to slide over. You don't need to take the pawn. It doesn't have to happen. It can happen, and of course, just don't get greedy. But a little bit of patience goes a long way in the game of chess. Look at everything that's going on the board. You could easily just say, oh, well, let's just check him, scoots in, let it happen, recapture. No. One of those in-between moves that forces someone with no moves to have to make a bad move. Zugzwang. When they're in Zugzwang, it means anything they do, it's going to put them in a worse position. And that's what we do. We do this move. Now they must move away. Boom, queen, yeah. Give me my queen. Gotta go over. Man, take the house. Let me take it and go here, check. Boom. Yeah, your choice. Live in your world. Boom. Check. He's gonna hide. It's okay. You don't really care. Because you get the pawn. He's coming around. He's coming around. No, you just cut him off. He can't have this side of the board. Yeah. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, I'm gonna be smart about it. Then you just roll the pieces this way. That's it. Keep it simple, keep it short and sweet. Look at all the ideas. That was a quick end game example as well. So hopefully you learned a little something today, and hopefully you've enjoyed the lesson. Till next time, everyone, study up. Take a look at those power pawns. Get ready to